So most people, if you've been looking into things, paying attention, you know about the Global Compact for Migration. You know that's why we have an open border and all this disaster happening. They're tied to the UN through the IOM, which is what, International Organization of Migration. So they also tie to the International Center for Nurse Migration. International Center for Nurse Migration. Yes, that came out of the International Council of Nurses. And the International Council of Nurses ties to Global Nurses United, which ties to American Nurses Association, which then ties to your unions like National Nurses United. But American Nurses Association is also tied to the Credentialing Board. So everybody has a hand in helping to destroy America, and it's mostly Americans. What do you know? Yeah. Were they just misguided? I really don't know. I would say that higher education nursing stuff maybe just made them lose all common sense altogether. And I'm going to explain why. It's because this is then tied to an organization that helps these migrants get credentialed, and they say it's all about being ethical migrating. Right, okay. So International Council of Nurses, International Nurse Migration ties to this. It's the world's largest credentials evaluation organization for the nursing and allied health professionals since 1977. And they basically say that they have a special relationship with the United Nations, and they serve as an NGO, so another non-governmental organization. That means you haven't appointed these people to decide anything, but they're deciding it for you. They're a non-governmental organization, and they say that they're a neutral nonprofit, okay, and that they tie to the United Nations through a special consultative status to the United Nations, an NGO with a special consultative status to the United Nations Economic and Social Council, which serves as the central forum for international and social issues. In addition, this organization is a member of the Conference of Non-Governmental Organizations and an associate member of the UN Department of Public Information. So, being that they're in with the social issues, of course, they push the health equity, something not based on any evidence. They just write pretty papers, and because they're overeducated, they can't use common sense and realize what they're doing. Then people just believe this bullshit about health equity, which is, they're the racist. Again, I'm going to say it. The people that believe and push this health equity, you have a racist problem. But here's really why the health equity. It's so that my guess, okay, is that it's so American nurses won't say, wait a minute, why is our American Nursing Credentialing Board and American Nurses Association and all our nursing professional organizations seem to care more about getting migrated nurses in than helping even American nurses? Well, that's because, as I've said before, it's about helping the corporate world get more money, likely because then they will get more money. Okay, I mean, the International Nurse Council of Nurses has been at the UN forever. Okay, you'd think those nurses would be like, yeah, I don't want to get on with a global health plan with a bunch of communist countries, because that's not healthy. But they didn't seem to figure it out. But on their board is 11 members. Yes, here's some interesting ones. Yes, Kathy Chappell, Senior Vice President of American Nurses Credentialing Center, the ANCC. Yeah, this ANCC decides, like, that's where you get licensed from. So I'm just wondering if Kathy Chappell or any of her other comrades there, if they would understand why an A student nurse that's an American, maybe that's why is my guess, why they would fail their exam, their NCLEX 7 times. NCLEX is the state board you take to become a registered nurse. I'm just wondering if she knows anything about that. I mean, ANCC is top of the chain. That they license you or they don't. But I worked with a nurse who said her and somebody else that a friend of hers failed NCLEX 9 times, both of them, and she's failed it 7 times. I've never even heard of that. And yet they were both A students. Well, I don't know if we have more of the ANCC members over at the United Nations with those communist countries that really just seem to be wanting to flood our country with cheap labor. I'm just wondering, is somebody at ANCC have something to do with that? I'm just asking a question. I really don't know. But yeah, this is Kathy Chappell, so they're all the 11 members on this organization are all American. And all from the corporate world, basically. For Kathy Chappell, it says, through her role as Senior Vice President of the Accreditation Certification Measurement and the Institute for Credentialing Research and Quality Management at the ANCC, Kathy is responsive for certification of individual nurses and advanced practice registered nurses, as well as the development of Board of Certification examinations. She is also responsible for the accreditation of organizations that provide continuing nurse education and interprofessional continuing education, and for accreditation of residency and fellowship programs for RNs and APRNs. Kathy holds a bachelor's degree in nursing with a distinction from the University of Virginia, along with a master's degree in advanced clinical nursing and doctorate in nursing from George Mason University. She is a fellow at American Academy of Nursing, and distinguished scholar and fellow in the National Academies of Practice. Okay. So that's just one of the big problems we have here, is people not realizing that when you get on board with a global health plan, you're getting on board with communist countries. It's known throughout history, maybe Kathy doesn't know, known throughout history that communist countries don't treat their people well. So thinking that getting on board with a global health plan and health equity and a migration of nurses is not smart. Not smart. Jay Cannon, he's one of the top ones. He's that one I just showed, Kathy Chappell, she's right below him for this same organization. He too has an interesting bio, but of course they all would. With more than 3 decades of executive leadership with healthcare technology and service growth companies, Jay Cannon is a partner in Trinisys, a provider of enterprise data management and workflow automation solutions. Prior to joining the company in 2016, he served as Chief Development Officer at Entrada Health, and before that, he was President and Chief Operating Officer for Arcadia Solutions, a population health and analytics technology provider. Previously, he was president and COO at WebMDX. Earlier in his career, Jay served in senior roles at Nuance Communications, Total MedSpheris, the MRC Group, and Medifax. He is a graduate of the University of Kansas. So this is a big problem because they seem to be focused more on migrating people. Now, this organization makes it wrapped up that they look at all your credentials and they evaluate everything and they help protect you ethically if you're migrating to the U.S., or they'll say any country, but it's the U.S. I mean, look at our open borders. Yeah, so in my opinion, it's so hard for me to look at these people and go, are you really this stupid? Yeah, well, yeah, they're higher educated. And again, it's the higher educated they're very smart academic wise, but somewhere along the way they lose common sense. For any nurse to be on board with a global health plan with a bunch of communist countries, well, we don't need leaders like that, because that's a leader with no common sense, which is what we have at every head of our profession right now.